Carter Realty Group.
And I'm Randall Moffitt with Carter Realty Group, and this is...
Welcome to Contracts, Conversations, and Cocktails.
All right, and today what we're going to be drinking while we're conversing with you is a drink called the Peanut Butter and Jelly, and it's actually Screwball Peanut Butter Vodka, not vodka, whiskey, of course.
And cranberry juice.
Cranberry juice, and Sarah is actually going to pour and stir and shake and...
Well, you explain
exactly
the rules.
So the first step is you add whiskey. Normally about 2 ounces.
So we're gonna do like 2 cups.
There you go. Perfect.
Perfect.
And then the jelly or the cranberry juice.
Jelly.
Perfect.
We did like half and half, but depends on your alcohol content preference.
Like a 60-40 kind of thing. All right.
Shake it up.
Shake it. You want to shake it high so you get the maximum amount of tips from the patrons. All right. And we've already had our ice.
Can't wait to try this.
Cooked.
It's gonna be so good.
We'll pour over the ice. Bit for you. Bit for myself.
Thanks for topping me off there.
No problem. No problem.
Oh, it looks really good. All right.
Cheers.
Cheers. The topic today that we're going to be discussing is investment properties. Regarding flipping, renting, financing, all the things that go into it is what we're going to be talking about today. So Randy,
Yes.
Would you first off please share why we're, good to be talking about investments?
Right, so I am an investor myself. The reason I became an agent initially was to actually invest. As you know, agents have direct access to the MLS. You don't have to go through an agent. I already have the expertise that most people would seek out to find in an agent. Not to mention, you get a discount when you purchase a property because you get commission back representing yourself. And when you go to sell a property, you don't have to pay out half of the commission. Well, you do, but you're not paying yourself. And for you, Sarah, you are an investor too.
I am. Yes, I bought my first investment property last year. It's a very exciting thing to learn about how to pick a tenant, how to know what kind of financing that what goes into that. And so I'm really excited to be here today to talk with you about how you can buy an investment property. So we're going to go ahead and dive in.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Randy, how would you like to start? Do you want to talk with financing?
Yeah, you know what? I was going to say one differentiator between what Sarah and I do invest in. I invest in multifamilies, and she actually has a condo. Mm-hmm. So I think that's like the perfect segue. So for your condo to be financed, there was a few things that you had to watch out for and a few things that you had to know.
Yes. You want to dive into that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so with an investment property with a condo, you do have to be very careful if you're trying to use it as a rental. Some of the things to look for is you probably will have an HOA, which we'll talk about that in a few minutes,
Absolutely.
But an HOA is something that has guidelines that you need to follow, or there's punishment, essentially. And so I had to watch out for the HOA. I had to read through the documents and make sure it was a rentable unit.
Yes.
And I also had to put in reserves. So when you go to buy an investment property, you have to have money saved up to account for you being a trustworthy buyer, per se.
And
So a few things
I
to
think
mention there.
on the when you do start your journey into investing, one big thing is you make sure you do the hard work yourself as far as learning what she was referring to on some of the investor sheets is called a vacancy rate. And the reason they make you have that what do you call it, reserves, if you
Yes.
will, is in the event that you don't get a tenant immediately. They still want their money, they meaning the bank. So you have to show that you have enough money to float it until you get someone in there to subsidize or offset the cost of the investment property.
Exactly. Yeah, so they're looking at with the HOA, they want the bank, they being the bank, who's going to give you all the money. They want to make sure that not only are you a great candidate to borrow money to, but that the HOA is set in line, because sometimes HOAs fall behind in their dues, and what that means is the people living there aren't paying the HOA, or we have the vacant units.
Yeah.
And that has to account, because that means that people living there have to make up that difference, and it's a little more risky because we're counting on other people to bring in money as well. So the bank is very strict when it comes to condos specifically.
Yes.
That's more condos,
Yes.
just so you guys are aware. That's not referring to single family or multi-units.
Right, and I'll jump into the multi-unit.
Yeah.
So I own quite a few duplexes and some 4 units, and the financing for those are a wee bit different. Most of the time, you have to put down somewhere between 20 to 25% of the purchase price. We know a couple great lenders. If you all want to run some numbers, just give us a call. The number will be linked in the bio. So you come in, you put down your 25%, which essentially means that you already have 25% equity in the property, and that's what they have to have. You have in order for them to feel comfortable with lending you the money. And the same thing for a single family. Most of the time, with a single family, you may be able to get a lender that'll go down to 15%, maybe. Probably not, but you may get one to go down to 15%, and that's all you put down as far as initial investment into acquiring the property.
So to jump on that, while we're talking about what it requires for a down payment, that's what we're referring to right now. We kind of jumped into that. So when we're looking at a down payment, if you're buying to live in the home, it could be as little as 3% down.
Yes.
Which is amazing
Yes.
if you're going to live there.
Yes.
Which is great for multi-unit, right? You you purchase the building, you live in one unit, rent out the rest, it works out.
It's the smartest way to become an investor that I've seen, because you don't have to come up with the extra 17% down, and not only do you not have to pay any living expenses as far as a rent or personal mortgage, because the other units offset. And if I had a chance to rebuy or restart the process, if you will, that's the way I would have done it. But luckily, I bought my house first, and then I was able to acquire some investment properties after the fact.
So, question for you.
Yes.
So you have multi-units.
I do.
When you go to buy more properties, can you use your rent to account for income?
Yes. So that's the way that works. And we'll go back to your initial example where you have the owner-occupied multifamily. What they'll do is, so say you have your set income, and your income, for those who don't know, that's how you qualify for the amount of house that you can purchase. They take somewhere between 45 to 55% of your income, then subtract your expenses, and whatever you have left, that's what they give you the pre-approval based off of. But when you're purchasing a owner-occupied multifamily, they'll take 70% of the rents from the other units and average that, and they'll add that to your monthly income so you can qualify for the building. So that, a lot of people don't know that. So I mean, initially, if you can only purchase a single family house at $100,000 versus maybe able to purchase a $300,000 4 unit, because the additional units will subsidize as income for the purchase.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So for those of you who are not numbers people like me, maybe got a little lost because he's great with numbers. So if you're a numbers person, fantastic. But if not, essentially in short term, what he's saying is you can use your income from your rental properties to purchase more
in
income.
advance.
But if you follow that, he's giving you the breakdown of how that works.
Well, a few more of these,
that's
and
great.
I'll walk
They
you
want
back.
that. I just want to walk them through because we can't have an
I
hour
understand.
talking about it. So
And
it's
I'm
good
sure the
information.
people appreciate you and hate me because I'm a math teacher. Don't
But
worry
there's a
about
lot of people out there watching.
We
so
hope
it
so. A
could
million views or
one
streams.
or two different people.
Yeah.
So okay, we talked about down payment.
Right.
We talked about reserves.
Yes.
Just to recap on that, that's about 6 months usually of your income saved over 6 months. So the monthly
the monthly mortgage. Yep.
Monthly
times 6.
mortgage
Yep.
times 6 is what you need to have saved. Okay, moving along.
Yep.
What about repair costs? If I want to buy a house and I want to rent it out and be a landlord,
Right.
how much do I need to have saved for repairs?
So that's a good question. Well, what we do here at Carter Realty, what our broker always forces us to highly suggest that our clients do, is get an inspection before you buy. It's probably, people hate it because it's money that you quote unquote will spend that you don't get back initially, but if you're going to make a purchase that big, that $300 or $400 is a drop in the bucket to see exactly what you're buying. I mean, it's an inspector get out there, he'll go, under the roof, under the hood. I mean, those are cars.
Top to bottom of the house.
There you go. Yeah.
Top to bottom of the house.
He'll get on the roof and go under the house. There you go. And every little nook and cranny, anything that's off or skewed, he'll definitely put it in his report. And you got the opportunity to review it. Sometimes you have the ability to use that as a negotiation tool to maybe get some repairs or additional repair credit or what have you. But once you get that, and you get a proper assessment. The next thing to do is just get a contractor. I'd say, get somebody to walk, somebody who knows what they're doing. I'm not talking about your uncle who, who took wood shop class in high school and a little automobile. Right, yeah.
Don't know about that.
Yeah, don't do him.
Okay,
yeah, we love him. But this is a pretty big thing. So get somebody that, especially if it's a health and safety, which is like HVAC, plumbing, or electrical, get somebody licensed that, has shown and proved that they know what they're doing. Get them out there, get a quote. I like to wedge contractors against each other. It's not personally like to fight, but I like to get a bid from one contractor and a bid from another one. And that, if you're a rookie or a novice investor, you sometimes people just say, hey, it's $15,000, and you say, okay, here, don't ever do that. Go get someone else to get another bid, because it could be $3,000, and the other person just seeing that you were a big green and want to charge you a little bit more. So, and quick funny story, I've seen the contractor bid part get so crazy. To one guy, he was like, yeah, Randall, I invite all of the contractors here at the same time. And I was like, to me, it seems rude a little bit, but it's nothing that gets it going when contractors are walking around and...
Hold on. That's a really great idea.
Yeah.
So when you do get into a property that needs a lot of love, that would be a great idea to get a few contractors out and have them kind of go on a bidding war.
That's
now,
like
the good news too, on the flip side, that would be great for like a flipped property, something that needs a lot of love. You're like, I'm going to buy this cheap, and I'm going to sell it for a high return. That's a great option for a flip. Now, if you're buying something to rent it out, you may run into that as well, right? Where you need a lot of love. But sometimes with rentals, you could need as little as a fresh coat of paint
I was
and
gonna
some
say,
clean
when
carpets.
your rental, you kind of got you've been blessed when it comes to the rentals. You kind of got in there with only a quick touch up or breeze over.
It took a while because we
did
did it ourselves.
Oh.
But we had to paint ceilings, trim, everything had to get painted because it was a smoker.
Now, see, and painting is something that you can do because you don't have to be licensed. You know what I mean? But I don't suggest you change any fans or install any electrical boxes. No, I mean, I believe you got it. You can do it.
I would not do that. That's not safe.
But so I mean, in some instances, like I say, and that deal kind of snuck up on you. I think because you're an agent, that's why I believe being an agent helps me with investing, because you got your ear to the streets. You get it first, fresh off the plate. Get in there, you get it locked in, and when it comes to it, you get the discounts again. Love that, and that rental's been good to you, huh?
It has.
And you're getting another one here soon, huh? Surprise.
We'll see.
Surprise. I'm always pushing her to get another one.
The good news, though, for you guys is that as much as we get to see rentals come on them, not rentals, but properties come on, we're going to jump on that. You guys can have that same access. You just got to talk to us and we'll help you out with that so you can see how that works.
Exactly.
Okay, so we talked about reserves, down payment, repair costs, some things that go with repairs. And then what about going in line with repairs and down payment, all those things, return of investment. So if I'm going to buy a house because I want to flip it,
right?
How do I know that it's going to be a smart move? Like, do I just go and buy a house and go, I'm going to fix this and flip it, I'm going to make all the money in the world?
Yeah.
Or should I do something to make sure that I don't fall into that trap?
So there is a rubric as far as the return on investment, and it's basic numbers. She puts me in a position to be the math teacher. That's why they don't like me. But
you started.
First thing is what I say is, in order to understand how much you anticipate making, you have to know how much you're going to spend, and that means acquisition costs. And again, if you buy the home using a loan, whether it's a loan from a lender or even a hard money lender or even just a private lender, that could be someone who has $100,000 cash and they're willing to lend you the $100,000 and charge you.
I want a friend like that.
And me too. I've paid for one. I've paid for one.
It's called a loan shark.
No, that's totally. I think that's illegal. We'll cut that part out. But no, it's those are essentially called carrying costs. So you have the acquisition cost, which is whatever's considered in a down payment. Again, like if you're buying say a $100,000 house and you have to put down 25%, that's $25,000. There are a few additional lenders costs in there. We won't get to numbering for you, but we'll say $30,000. So $30,000 will be the amount that you have to contribute in order to acquire the property on the loan. and you would pay that loan from a traditional lender over about 30 years. But so $30,000 will be your acquisition cost, and say it's, I'm going to inflate it, $1,500 a month to pay that loan. That will be considered your carrying cost. So if you're going to look at a renovation, it's going to take 6 months. You have 6 months of carrying costs. You have your acquisition costs, and then you have your renovation costs. So if you go get your contractors and the bids come back. Now I'm going to get real. Hold on, I'm going to get to the numbers. It's going to get crazy. So, okay. So $100,000 house. Assume that after the rehab, it's going to be worth $200,000, right? Assume that it needs a $50,000 rehab, right? So now we're at 100 for the house, 50 for the rehab.
Yep.
That's 150,
Yep.
right? So the margin that you stand to gain is the 200. The things that eat away from, it's the 50. The things that eat away from that 50, like I said, are the carrying cost, going over budget. You see what I mean? And I know you guys have watched a lot of those renovation shows, and
you know.
they make a 30-minute episode look like it was this quick, but it might have been 2 years and they're twice the budget that they initially spent. So when it comes on return on investment, you want to have the numbers as concrete as you can get them. You want to be, I don't want to say frugal, but you want to keep it close to the chest.
Yeah.
And I will say that.
Because mystery things happen, right? You guys know when you do anything, right?
Yes.
It's going to be easy.
Yes.
And then it always needs
not,
something
yeah.
more. Like, when you fix a car, right? If you ever fix your own car, you're
You
like,
fix
okay,
cars.
get out of here, okay? I'm trying to be gender neutral, okay? Women can fix cars. I don't, but I know people who do. So when you go to fix a car, from what I've been told from the people who do fix cars, it always gets worse, right? You're like, oh, it's gonna be this easy little fix, and then all of a sudden, you're taking up everything. And it can be the same with the
at the end
house.
of it. You go in for a tire.
Well, no, we don't need to
change,
know. We don't need a whole new car or a new house. We just need to be aware. We need to have a little bit of wiggle room for
Yes.
an emergency.
Yes.
Because they can
Yes.
happen, and we don't want you to be that stressed out.
Right.
We want you to have a nice return on your investment.
And so also when you're calculating those things, keep in mind that, like she said, there's a buffer. And if the investment is going to push you too close to the buffer, it may not be a good investment. You see what I mean? Meaning, I gave you the number 150 was the rehab cost, so 50,000 would be the buffer. But if it was 165 on the after rehab and you're buying it for 100 and you're putting 50 in, that all it takes is some knob and tube or something like that, and now you're bringing money to the close instead of making money at the close.
So what could we do? Let's say worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
We bought a house, we're gonna flip it, and all of a sudden the market just shifts for some reason. You know, who knows? Something happens, and now my property is not worth what I thought. I'm gonna lose $10,000. What can I do?
Right. So it's a good question. Actually, I was watching.
I know. I just want to see what you're doing.
watching something the other day, another podcast. Something I was watching somebody way richer than me talk about making a lot more money than I ever made, and he said real estate is. No, the people who are most successful in real estate are the people who can be patient enough to take advantage when it's time to take advantage. So, to answer your question is, just because the market isn't there now doesn't mean the market won't get back to there. So the money is there. You may just have to wait until whatever.
But Randy, I don't want to pay my mortgage all that time. What can I do? I could rent it out.
You can rent it out. Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, you can definitely do that. Yeah, definitely, and that's what I was going to get to. Just so you can offset it, because if your goal is to flip to hit the home run, and if the market tanks, like interest rates go up or the market softens or what have you, it'll get back hot. It always does.
Markets are always flowing. Interest rates are always flowing. That's what numbers do. They come up and down. So there's nothing to be scared of.
Nope.
The worst thing you could do is nothing.
There you go.
Like not getting into real estate investments is not a great thing, because who's going to need houses in 10 years, 20 years? A year. Everybody. Everyone needs to live somewhere.
That's one consistent thing that you've had.
It's always going to be
there. It's been a requirement since you've been born, since I've been born.
It's always going to be there.
It's somewhere to live. And you could be on one side of the table, meaning divvying it out to someone, but the better side of the table to be on is providing this housing for someone and allowing them to provide you with passive income.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Move on, get another property, get some rental income, and now you have passive income. You can retire on that.
I mean, I know we talked about it earlier in the beginning. One of the newer ways that people are taking advantage of becoming an investor for the least amount of money as possible is people are buying single-family homes as their primary residence, fixing them, doing whatever rehabs they can do, paints or carpets, and in 6 months you have the ability to refinance and buy another one. 3.5% down, and you can turn that one into a rental. So it gives you the opportunity to kind of house hack your way up without having to put down the balloon payment of
15, 25%. 25%. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot of money.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and move on.
Yep.
Location. So let's talk about that a little bit. So when you're looking at an investment property, you want to know where's a good place to buy. We want to pay attention to what property values are going for around that home. Hopefully, if the property needs a lot of work, it's going to be priced correctly. And if it's not, that's what we're going to offer. Cheap. And that's what we're going to offer, right? Because we're not going to pay market price for a house that's not market ready. So to say all that, it really just comes down to the location. Is there anything coming up in that area? Is there a new Target, shopping mall, restaurant? What's going on?
New construction.
Yep. Like, you're looking for those things.
Are they losing anything? The area?
Yeah, is it going downhill? Is it going uphill?
Or something like that? Yeah.
Our business is closing. Like, those are all things we want to look for when we're shopping in a specific location. And most importantly, what's going to help us through that is we're going to do a market analysis to see what homes are selling for. Probably, honestly, going back a full year to see where the trending is and how it looks and what's selling today versus what the price of the home is. So when it comes down to location, it definitely, I would say it could really be anywhere as long as the numbers make sense to the neighborhood.
As long as it makes sense.
It's not specific to an actual neighborhood. It's looking for those different qualities that the area has to offer.
Because acquiring the property may be something that you can easily do.
Yeah.
But your goal is to make money from the property. So if you buy a cheap property in an area that nobody wants to live in, essentially you just park your money in an asset that won't increase in value, nor will it provide you any rental income or passive income as a result of having a tenant in there.
Yeah, which isn't good.
It's not good. That's counterproductive. Hustling backward, if you will. Yeah.
So we have a few minutes left, Randy. Why don't we talk about, for those of you who, we talked about flipping and the money that goes into that and the repairs, I would like to talk a little bit more renting because I think that might be a good option to dive into with rentals. So how do you determine what the mortgage should be and how much you should charge for rent? That's something I would like to dive into a little bit.
Right. Well, first things first, the mortgage portion of it, it's you're going to be capped. I mean, unless you're like a 5%, I mean, you got like $1 million on the books. But at most of the time, the mortgage, the lender is going to be the one who tells you how much you can buy. You see what I mean? And from that, you contact a great agent, and the agent is going to give you the location or the area in which you will maximize the bang for your buck at. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So when you go to look at it, as far as what's comfortable for you, as far as how much you make a month, that varies because some situations may not require you to be in attendance at all. Something you may not ever have to call. I have a tenant right now she gets SSI or something like that. And every month on the second Tuesday of every month, I wake up at 4:00 in the morning and the rental payment is there. She doesn't call me. She doesn't, unless there's an issue and I go fix it. But other than that, so that one, I'm fine. You see what but if there's one that you gotta, every time a light bulb go out, there, and you're only making $100 a month, it's
that's what we want to look for. So that's what I want to explain to talk about is, if I have a mortgage and I'm paying $1,000 on the mortgage, what should my return look like? We want to make sure that we're walking away with we're not breaking even. And you want it to be high enough that if the market does dip a little bit, we go into like a buyer's market where the rental market also will shift, that you're also still protected.
Yes.
So ideally, you want to see a couple $100 on top of the mortgage.
Maybe $350 at the lowest.
I mean, and those like are the ones.
I'm at 7 on a couple levels, but it's again. I believe it's you're comfortable at your number, and because of the involvement.
Yes.
But if you had to go over there twice a week
it'd be
or
different.
twice, is
Right.
you sell it. But no,
See, I have the condo, so I have an HOA, so I
Yeah.
don't have to worry about landscaping and worrying about
Mhm.
utilities and how to factor that into the property as well, right?
Yep.
So when we determine a rental price, we have to keep in mind of what is the tenant going to have to pay on top of the
Yes.
rate, because it has to make sense
Yes,
ultimately.
yes.
So those are things that we'll calculate, of course.
Absolutely.
But I think that kind of wraps up a lot of things that we were talking
Yeah, I
about. We
think
talked
so.
about rentals, flipping, down payments, repair costs, reserves. We talked about so much.
Yep.
So I think that's all we've got.
Yeah, well, I'll close with this. Start. Don't
yes.
have analysis paralysis. That's where
Yeah.
you sit there and you read every book, How to Become a Millionaire Investor, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
That's good to read,
Yeah,
but
those
buy
are great.
as you're reading.
But start. But it's because
Yeah.
there's certain in life, so certain lessons are better learned in the lesson.
Every
You see
li- I
what
feel
I
like
mean?
every
You gain
lesson is,
appreciation for it. You understand things to watch out for, nuances. You understand people and those types of things. And sometimes the book will relay the information, but it won't relay the experience.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So great information. Get started. If you
Yep.
don't know where to start, give us a call.
Yeah.
We'll help you out.
Absolute link in the bio.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. We appreciate
Thank
you
you.
joining us at Conversations and Cocktails.
Cheers.